Hi guys, welcome back. Kaza here. We're back with another episode of Along the Edge. We're on chapter 4, so let's get started and see where it goes. And if you guys are interested in this game, check it out in the description below. Links to the Steam page and add to your wishlist. It'll be out on October the 12th. So let's get started and see how our journey turns out. Really. Chapter 4. What's that button? Okay, space. November. She's been transferred to an intensive care unit yesterday night. What? And she died earlier today. The doctors have done all they could, but they said her chances of survival were next to none. How did I get there? Though we were already well into November, I felt like the cocktail party happened yesterday. Vids Malterres unveiled his statue of the Sphinx that looks exactly like the one I saw in my dream. I've been struck by lightning. I had before me the confirmation of this tenacious intuition that has been following me since I had arrived here at the village. This feeling that there was something somewhere that would give meaning to all this, something I was brushing against with my hand, but was gliding around my fingers like a trickle of water. Unfortunately, I got caught up in everyday life very fast. The trimester was already coming to an end, and I had been buried under a pile of papers to grade. Frank went back to the city 3 days ago. A job there he needs to overlook. He told me he wouldn't be back before at least the end of the month. I was surprised he came to tell me that he was leaving. It made me realize it's been a while since I saw him last. I don't know what to think about this long trip, though. Is he already thinking of leaving the village for good? And then Stan tried to call me. And, well, by calling me, I mean that my voicemail had been saturated by his messages. He was begging me to pick up, that we had to talk. I didn't dare answering. I don't know what would happen if I had left him a chance. Miss Delator? Are you okay? You look upset. What happened exactly? How did she get in this accident? Here's what her sister told me. Beatrice Levke was taking the cliff road to pick up her son, Jean-Baptiste, after his soccer game. The car seemed to have skidded on a patch of ice. Why are you telling me this? It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. And to think about her son. Yes, and you're the head teacher of his class. I count on your vigilance. Jean-Baptiste is going to need our support to get through this. Besides, I'm sorry to talk about this in these circumstances, but I wanted to see you anyway. I know you were only here for 6 months, and that you're probably doing the best you can. But, how can I put it? Your methods leave something to be desired. I don't think you're really cut off for this job. I don't know what to say. I've been concerned lately. I must admit, I have had a lot on my plate lately. These last months have been difficult for me. I understand. Listen, there's no cause for alarm, not yet. But try to put a little more heart into what you're doing, okay? Okay. Alright, we've gone through the main topics, but would you allow me to ask you something a little bit personal? Okay, I guess, sure. Of course, I'm listening. Stop me if I'm wrong, but how can I put it? People talk. I've heard you had words with Levicu at the cocktail party. Did you, by any chance... I don't know how to say it. Well, no need to beat around the bush. Did you, by any chance, and let me insist on, by any chance, have any responsibility in Miss Levicu's accident? How? Absolutely not. Let's change this up. No, just absolutely not. And don't tell me you're giving any credit to this gossip. I'm a woman of science, and I condemn any of his backwards beliefs. Let's be serious for a minute, shall we? What are you thinking? Would I pin needles to a voodoo doll of Miss Levicu in the privacy of my attic during the full moon nights? I'm very sorry for what's happened to this poor woman, but the cause of the accidents are not so mysterious. We're talking about a physical phenomenon that happens every winter, and has a tendency to change liquid water into ice, a solid which has an unfortunate property of making cars skid out of control. That said, if you don't mind, I'm not done with my day, so if you will excuse me. Sorry if I upset you, Miss Delator. It wasn't my intention. Mr. Chesney. As if today wasn't emotionally charged enough, when I get to the castle, I discover a sports car parked in front of the house. That looks vaguely familiar. Of course, I already guessed the identity of its owner. Walking into the hall, I find Stanelius inside, sipping leisurely from a glass of whiskey, which nonchalantly looking at the family portraits. My heart skips a beat at the notion of seeing him here in my living room. I feel a bit like an idiot. I try to pick myself up before calling to him. I would offer you a drink, but it looks like you've already taken the matter into your own hands. I pour myself a decent swig of the strong alcohol and light up a cigarette. It was open, so I let myself in, and I don't regret it since I've been waiting for you for a while. I'm already on my second refill. Besides, I thought school teachers end their day much earlier, don't they? I've been delayed. Daphne, we need to talk. About what? I don't want to talk to you. I'm listening. Kiss him. Where in the... What? Why would I kiss him? She says we need to talk. Why would I kiss him? I'm just listening. I'm listening. What? Looking at the state of my voicemail, I had a clue you would come over sooner or later. I'm listening. After all that happened, I had to warn you. You really need to know about our family, the village, and everything else. I sit on the sofa disregarding the armchair on the other side of the coffee table. Senelius takes place right beside me. If I could still explain his behavior at the cocktail party by the fact he was drunk, I can't ignore the strong signals he's sending my way anymore. Stan takes deep breath and starts. Of course, there's my father, his projects, and the old quarrel with the Delators, and his sick obsession with the tower. But when I learned that Beatrice lived good, that's when I realized the urgency of the situation. When I saw you do what you did at the cocktail, I remember everything I've been hearing since I was a child, all those unbelievable stories of witchcraft. I never had real proof that any of this was true, but when I heard she was dead, well, it's been haunting me all day. I had to tell you. Forgive my bluntness, but I have to ask. Did you know what you were doing back then? I don't believe in magic at all. I don't know what I was doing. I didn't know. I don't know how to answer this. I don't believe in magic, not at all. I don't know what I was doing. Me as the person who knows the synopsis, like there's witchcraft in this thing, want to say, oh, I don't believe in magic, or no, I didn't know what I was doing, because apparently I am obviously from a witch family. But as the main character herself, I don't know if I believe it. More dilemmas. I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know what to think. Since I've arrived, I've been feeling things. We've seen these strange dreams, the castle, and everything I've heard about my family. Yes, I want to believe in all this. But now, if these stories are real, but it makes me a murderer. Come on. On the other hand, when Levicu attacked me at the cocktail, I saw red. I wanted her to pay. I wanted her to suffer. But if I could have guessed for 1 second she'd end up dead. I'm overwhelmed by emotions. I realize I've been holding back my tears since the director broke out the news. I burst into tears and Stan takes me into his arms. I let him. I'm torn apart by contradicting feelings. I think about Frank. He should be the one comforting me. I don't know why, but I feel like I can trust Stan. I'm afraid he might understand me better than Frank ever did. I need a couple of minutes to calm down. When he's sure most of the storm is behind us, Dan gently lets go of his hug and, looking at me straight in the eyes while holding me in the shoulders, says, "Please forgive me. I've been terribly inconsiderate. Of course, you couldn't have known what would happen. I keep forgetting you're not from here. And besides, no one told you what was happening in the village. So I'm begging you, please, don't feel guilty. It is us, the Malterres, and the others who should feel guilty for not having warned you." "Something else to tell me?" "I'm afraid I do. I believe my father made you an offer at the cocktail party, didn't he?" "Sorry, but I told him to get lost before he shared any details." "Ah, yeah, okay. To sum it up, he wants to get inside the tower. If he hasn't come yet, it's that he's building a file with the city hall. Celine is in on this. He's making her work day in and day out." "I'm sorry for her." "He wants to frame everything before telling you of his plans." "What can he really do to me? The house is legally mine. He can't throw me out like that for no reason." "Maybe, but I assure you, he's not joking around. Whatever happens, you must accept the deal." "Why are you so eager for me to refuse?" "I know, Yves. Whether I wanted it or not, I've been dealing with him daily since I was born. He's a shark, and considering how much he represents the Delators, I can assure you that he's going to do something that deserves his interest, but mostly harms yours." You know, why is he going after me? What did my family do to generate so much hate? It goes back very far. Our great-grandparents, or even further, I don't know for sure. What I've been told is that the Delators used to be a very influential family in the area. Your family has kept their traditions despite the law, and the name Delator of the tower goes from mother to daughter, with the eldest daughter being the spiritual guide of the community. A kind of Celtic great priestess, if you see what I mean, since, well, Christianity never really got big around here, as you must have noticed. The story tells that your ancestors, the great priestess, had a dispute with my ancestor, and my family had no choice but to curse yours to save their honor. Since then, the Malterres began accumulating their wealth and prosper while the Delators went downhill. Let's assume that you're saying is true. It's all happened a long time ago. Why keep this old quarrel alive? I didn't do anything to harm your family, and besides, looks like the Malterres have already won the game, haven't they? They still don't have the tower. My understanding is that these blessings have a price, and all my father wants is to lift the curse, but also weighs in my family. You have a curse in your family? What is that? And the tower would be the key to all of this. But I can't let Yves go inside because he could want to harm me? Exactly. It may sound stupid, but I have to ask, do you know where is the tower entrance? I don't, but everyone in the village knows it's been condemned after the events that torn both our families apart. Why did no one tell me then? Don't judge the villagers too harshly. We're naturally suspicious, especially when it comes to us. Should I prepare myself for other revelations, or are you done? I guess I told you most of it in a broad outline, but you must have 1,000 questions. Yeah? Tell me about your family. Tell me about your father's plans. Tell me about yourself. I want to know about your family. Your family, I must admit I'm curious. Can you tell me more about them? I think you've really grasped the ins and outs. On one hand, there's my parents, Yves and Clotilde. Clotilde. I don't know. We've been on bad terms since I'm old enough to remember understanding the way they think. What do you mean? How do I sum up the Malterres way? I would say manipulation and extortion under the cover of good education, and if that doesn't work, they throw money in the general direction of the problem until it's nice enough to disappear. Charming, but I'm asking myself, why do they stay in the village? I mean, with so much wealth, they could live anywhere, couldn't they? You mean less far from civilization? You're not wrong, but don't forget they're very attached to the area. With their beliefs, they're too afraid they might lose their blessings if they leave, I guess. And yet, I'm only speculating. Yves decided I wasn't fit to be the top-rank heir long before I'd been old enough to be in the know. What about you? Have you ever thought about leaving? Of course I did. but with Celine and her son stuck here, I couldn't resolve myself to leave them alone in the mouth of madness. Sure, makes sense. Besides, I strongly suspect my father might be more or less responsible for the death of Celine's husband. A nice accidental death, like he enjoys them, be it supernatural or not. After all, since his own son wouldn't do, he needed an heir to pass on his great values, right? But it's awful. Welcome to my world. Of course, I'm doing my best to protect Pierre from all this, but I'm afraid I've already lost the war. He idolizes his grandfather, of course, and with reasons. He can be a very nice guy when he wants to. As for Celine, she's always been kept up out of this. She's the perfect daughter, and my parents, with their traditional values, don't have a lot of ambition for her. I think they wanted from their daughter was a nice wedding that would preferably help the family affairs. Sam stops talking, staring at nothing. I don't know what else to say. Finally, he's the one to break the silence before it becomes too awkward. Well, that's it. You know everything. I want to know about you. Tell me about you. How's your life? What do you want me to tell you? I don't know. How are your days? What are your ambitions? I feel him close up like an oyster. No! Without meaning to, I guess I poked on a sore spot. I'd rather tell you I have a fully exciting life, but I'm afraid I'm nothing else but a lazy rich kid. I fail at everything. Not that I can't do it, but I don't apply hard enough or at all. That's probably worse. Just gonna let you continue. I tried to enter medicine school, but I didn't pass the exam. I tried at law, but I'm not as brilliant as my sister is. I wanted to play the piano, then paint, and I had to bow to the evidence. I'm not an artist. In fact, the only thing that keeps me going is my sister and my little nephew Pierre. I don't know what I'd do without them. And then I met you. I know it's completely cliche and a little soapy, and I hope you won't run the other way. But I think that, for once, I like to go a tad further than just a passing flirt. I should not have asked this question. That was a loaded question. Me too. Let's not go too fast. It's just I don't know. I don't know who I like. Listen, I'd be lying if I told you I felt nothing, but I have things to deal with before I'm 100% available. I understand. There's your guy, of course. I think that was your guy. You guy. Take the time you need. Adultery has always been a foggy notion for me, and I'm not a jealous guy. Don't take it as a joke. Is it me or talking about your carpenter makes you impenetrable to my usually so fascinating sense of humor? Cornelius deserves being slapped when he acts like that, but I can't refrain from smiling. Well, here we are. That's my life, broadly speaking. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I guess it's less sexy than you thought. If you don't like it, it's never too late to change, you know? Sure, let's talk about something else. Okay, I got it. I'll stop bothering you. Well, I guess now it's father's plans. Tell me more about your father's plans. As I was saying, he wants to get inside the tower and he will stop at nothing. As I know him, he's going to try and win you over at first. He's currently building a file with the city hall to open the tower to the public, while on the other hand, they would pay for all the maintenance cost. It could be worth it to at least hear what he offers, don't you think? The cost to keep the castle afloat are nothing to sneeze at, and the money I got with the legacy isn't inexhaustible. I don't have any other way to say it, and I don't have any proof except my experience and the trust you may put in my word. But I assure you, accepting anything coming from my father is a very bad idea. During the time of your grandmother, he resigned not to get into the tower. But now that things have changed, he wants to take advantage of the opportunity. I'm sure he's about to come over with a very attractive financial setup and is counting on your supposed naivety to get what he's after. Alright, let's say I refuse. What happens next? Depends. Depends on what? Depends on whether or not you believe in all this witchcraft stuff. I always goes back to that, right? Maybe, but it's a very lively notion for the people who live here. And then, whether your position on this question is, Vids' threats are very real. You won't be the first to oppose him, but you will have a lot of cards in your deck to manage to be the last. Yeah, I have nothing else to ask you. You just kind of went through it all. I have nothing else to ask you. There's one more thing I wanted to ask you. Because I say a lot about the kind of subject we're about to discuss. But wouldn't I put my chances to oh God, I don't know. But wouldn't I put my chances to reconnect with Frank in jeopardy by getting into this? Spend the night with Stan or see him to the door, give him the boot. Oh gosh. I don't know. New guy or old guy? Old guy who I had a kid with, or almost had a kid with, or new guy who knows the countryside. My old life or my new life? Oof. I don't know where I see either of them, so no, you cannot spend the night. I'm sorry. I know what you're about to say. I thought it was clear. I'm sorry, but spare me. It's not you, it's me speech. I get it. If you change your mind, you know where to find me. I know I don't, but okay. Days go by, and still nothing from you is Malterres. I must admit I'm a bit worried with what he might be planning for me. I try not to think too much about it. What am I really risking? Even if I decide to let the hypothesis of the supernatural into my life, I have a strange feeling that nothing can happen to me, even from a curse from the Malterres. Maybe it's a bit presumptuous, but I feel like my family name acts like a kind of a lucky charm, protecting me from anything bad. And then there's Stanilius. I must confess I think about him more than I should, but I'm not sure I really want to follow up on it. Frank is still in town and won't be back before the end of the month. I don't know what I should do. Should I tell him about Stan, even if I might lose him again? There's also the bulletins. It's been a while. I'm thinking that Soline Malterres from time to time. I'm not sure I can figure her out, but I feel like there was something going on when I met her at the cocktail. Perhaps I could call her. Maybe we could see each other again. What should I do? You and your loaded questions. Okay, thoughts are my wardens. Golf guy that's trying to get with me, or let's go talk to the wardens. They're close. When I knocked at the outbuilding door, Miss Boytine, who answers. Oh, hello, miss. What brings you here? It seems she's put her knitwork aside to greet me, next to the fire in an armchair, and makes a little slithin of Mr. Boytine. He looks at me from behind his newspaper, the local daily news, and puffs his pipe as I enter the room. He greets me with a nod. I was just checking in. It's been a while since we saw each other. Oh, yes, you're right. Time flies. When we heard about Miss Levicky, we were sorry for this poor woman, my husband and I. It smells like another trick of the Malterres, if you're asking me. It's not Malterres' fault this time. Let's not go there. But it doesn't make sense. Why would the Malterres want to get rid of a housewife? Do you mean that you knew her, miss? Well, knowing is a big word. She was the mother of one of my students, and she had, how can I put it? Let's say she had some preconceived notions about the Delators. Miss Boytine turns white. But excuse me to say it bluntly, but have you cursed this poor woman? Before I have a chance to answer, she goes on. Without knowing, miss, how could you have guessed? Did you hear that, Gerard? We should have warned her. Miss Boytine puts newspapers down on his knees and looks around with a piercing gaze. Come on, Gibbet. You were saying just a couple days ago that these stories were nothing but stories. If I had guessed, you must have realized what you're saying doesn't exist, Miss Boytine. Curses, you don't make people have car accidents just like that with the power of the mind. I'm afraid you're wrong, miss. You don't know the legends of the village. Alright, then explain me. Explain to me? It makes more sense, I think. It feels like there's a lot of things I'm missing about the village, my family, the Malterres. Tell me about the tower and the legends, the curse. The legends, I think, is more pertinent. And tell me about what you know about the tower and the local legends. What do you want to know precisely? You told me that the Sphinx was a coat of arms of Delators. Why? Yes, that's right. You can see it on the family crest. I think it's related to the story of your family. You can see the Sphinx all over the village, and you are a descendant of the family who used to protect the tower and its contents. Follow me, I'll show you. Sabodi puts her coat on. I follow her to the tower. She shows me a shield with a coat of arms the family carved in bas relief on the outward wall. Can I see it? Thank you. See? I can clearly make out a tower surrounded by two Sphinx. We certainly go back to the outbuilding. But this Sphinx has nothing to do with Egypt. Does it look more like one from Greek mythology? Like the Sphinx protecting Thebes, who's asked riddles to Epidus, I guess. I don't know. Well, miss, I can't say. A couple years ago, we saw a documentary on TV. My husband and I, and we told ourselves, wasn't the statue in the village? Do you remember, Gerard? The Spoiteen mumbled something unintelligible without even looking up from his newspaper. Clothier Methilde told me that as long as I had the tower, I would be a threat to them. What'd she mean? Oh, well, that must come from the stories about the tower, but I'm not sure I know much more. And tell me what you know. What they say is the region is magic, used to be a place of pilgrimage in the old times, people coming to be healed or during the festivities for the passing of the seasons. I can't tell you why, but the legend says that your ancestors used to perform miracles. My ancestors? The Delators? Yes, the Delators. It was before we built the tower. I don't know how they were called back then. But your family had the duty of protecting the village. As the place is said to be magic, it would draw demons, and there'd be rituals performed so the source of power was polluted by these evil spirits. When the Christians colonized the country, the region closed upon itself. People from the village built a tower on top of the source to keep it secret, and the village became a place of memory. I don't know about this period. It's way before I was born. It's my grandfather who told me the stories from before Malterres came around. And what are the Malterres doing in all this? It began with Yves's grandfather, the old Gustave Malterres. When he was a child, Delators took him in at the castle because he had a gift for miracles. He was an orphan coming from the marshes. To be welcomed like that was a great chance. But apparently it wasn't enough for him. He wanted more. I've known him a little. He's already an old man, but a difficult character. I recall he used to give me the creeps when I was a child. Anyway, it's since about that time the Malterres began to amass their wealth. That's when the accidents started to happen. If anyone went against the Malterres, something bad happened to them. Every time. And then the Delators began to go downhill. In the end, there was only your grandmother left. And then you came. I must have gotten excited when Grandma passed away. They're like, crap, she came back. Why did you wait to tell me all this? You were from the city. You didn't know any of this. If we had told you about the spirits of the forest or a magical source, what would you have thought? And yet, we thought it was only old stories. We weren't born at the time of the miracles, and we don't know much anyway, my husband and I. And what's the curse? And tell me what you know about this curse. I can't tell you much about this, miss. But Delators are known to be miracle makers. It's been ages since anything like that has ever happened. It was before I was born, but they used to say your family had a gift. Can you tell me what happened with Miss Hakuoki? Maybe it will jog up my memory. I tell her what happened. Maybe that's the words you said without knowing, and also your wound. That must be the thing that unleashed the spell. If I had known, I would have been more careful. It's sad your grandmother's no longer with us. She would have explained everything to you. Yes, I guess I have liked to get the step-by-step guide on how not to kill your neighbor. And yet, I still think it's a trick to the Malterres. It would be very twisted, don't you think? Ah, well, nothing surprises me with these thugs. By the way, Gerard saw Malterres' son's car in the yard the other day, didn't you, Gerard? He didn't bother you, I hope, did he? Yes, he visited me indeed, and you should get used to it. I think you misjudged him. I don't think he's made of the same wood as his parents. It's not my place to tell you what you should do, miss, but be careful with this man. And I want Miss Levicu. Tell me more about Miss Levicu. You seem to know her. Knowing her is a big word. Let us say she was the talk of the town some years back. Really? Why? Her husband was a brute, the kind who drinks too much, if you see what I mean. There were several incidents. It went on for a couple of years. Beatrice Levicu would never file for a divorce. And yet, Yves Malterres supported her when her husband disappeared. Disappeared? What do you mean? Did he pass away? No, well, I don't know. Just like that, he disappeared. It is said that Yves Malterres would have drove him out of the village. Beatrice Levicu was sure to have thanks to the Malterres, and she was working at City Hall. Well, you better not be caught up saying ill to Mr. Mayor when she was around. I understand. That said, Yves did a good thing on this one, didn't he? Depends. No one really knowing about what happened to Levicu, and even so, a nice gesture once doesn't redeem you from a life of bad deeds, don't you think? But it means her son Jean-Baptiste is an orphan. Well, yes, but don't worry too much about him. Her aunt took him in. You must know her. She's the wife of the fishmonger, you know, at the market. It's a good family. I'm sure they'll take care of him as if they were their son. I suppose he'll be none the worse for it. I guess that's it. Thanks. I have to go. Thanks for answering all my questions. So, you know everything. Well, Gerard, we told her everything, didn't we? Monsieur Borton puffs on his pipe and nods in agreement. He didn't really interject at anything. Except now. We're just the warnings, my wife and I. We were never in the know. Your grandmother, she could have told you. Warned you. I have to know more. I have to know more. Who else can bring me answers? Malterres might know more, and yet, Yves for sure. Then I'm not even sure his wife or her children know anything at all. There must be someone else, don't you think? Yes, there's Sophie, your mother. She was the last Delator to know his secrets. What should I do next? I'm not gonna wait. Why the heck would I wait? I'll call Stan. I pick up the phone to call Stan. He's excited to hear from me and wants us to meet. On one hand, it could end things with him, tell him that it was a one-night stand. Wait, that's not what I wanted to call for. I just want to ask questions. On the other hand, I could ask him to wait for me to work it out with Frank. And of course, there's a third option. I could see him again. But it means lying to Frank. I have 1 hour off at school this afternoon. I could go to his place. This isn't what I meant. Oh. I can't redo this. And things stand. Ask him to wait. I'm sorry. I'm bad. I tell him I'll go see him in the afternoon between classes. There's nothing else on my mind for the whole morning. I'm bursting with impatience when I take my car to meet him. Hey, I could still question him. Right? We have a great time together. A couple days later, he's waiting for me at the end of the school day. We meet more and more often. One time we take a room at the small hotel at the village. Oh, this was not just what I thought. I'm screwed. Another time, we take a walk along the river hand in hand. I know it can't last, and that sooner or later I'll have to take a decision. take a decision? Make a decision. What should I do next? Oh, was not what I had planned at all. Crap, I just got more serious with him. I didn't mean to. Call Celine. And when I call Celine, she's a bit surprised to hear from me, but quickly warms up to the idea of having coffee together. We meet up in the afternoon in a small tea room with a terrace that opens on a public square. Celine is waiting for me, cup in hand, while overlooking her son playing with the other children on the playground next to the terrace. The choice of the place becomes suddenly limpid, and I understand the strategic location it presents for the young mothers of the village. But since my pregnancy accident, I avoid this kind of place like the plague, as it tends to bring back a fertile of bad memories. Though I try to keep my composure as I take place in front of Celine, I guess I don't do a very good job of it, since she asked me with a worried look on her face. Are you alright? Tell her what's wrong. Everything's alright. I'll be honest. Yes, sorry. It's this kind of coffee shop at this playground. It reminds me of a difficult part of my life. Oh, yes, of course, what an idiot. I should have guessed. Delator, after all. What do you mean? Yeah, what? Well, the Delator's always had Fukundi issues. They were hushed silence. Sorry, that was inconsiderate. No, it's nothing. It's me. I can't let this episode haunt me so easily, or else I'll never get past it. Well, that is, you're still telling me things. But, what do you mean by the Delator's always had Fukundi issues? That's something they say here, you know, all the local stories. It seems the Delators, in exchange for being the spiritual leaders of our community, had to pay a kind of tribute. And this tribute was the sacrifice of the firstborn of each generation. So that's why I lost my baby. But my mother had only one child. But if I follow this logic, my mother should have lost a child before having me, right? Yes. Well, it's impossible. She was barely 18 when she had me. Listen, Daphne, it's just the word around here, and I'm sorry if I offended you. Let's talk about something else, okay? We chit-chat for a while. We're not cut off from the time by Pierre Yves, who wants to show up with his very fascinating stone, to ask for a cookie or to tell us about the incredible adventure that just happened to him on the playground's floor. Not Celine, who finally goes right to the thick of it, telling me from nowhere. So, now that we're through with the niceties, we can get into the real reason you called, don't you think? I'm quite sure Stan has told you about my father's plan, and you want to get out of me, don't you? The conversation is suddenly taking a strange turn, and I feel like I'm on a minefield. I have to choose very carefully what I say next. Talk your way out. No, just be honest. I didn't come for that, but since you're asking, I must admit, I'm a bit curious to know more. Ah, I knew it. Delators are really all the same. But no, you knew it was too good to be true. But you had a hidden agenda when you called. No! She gets up and looks at me scornfully, says, "Don't waste your time. You won't get anything out of me." She takes her son by the hand. They both leave in a haste. As for me, I stay there, dumbstruck and a bit wounded by what happened. Even if I didn't have any proof, I'm sure she's disproportionate reaction as a result of Yves undermining my efforts. I'll pay the bill before going back to the castle. Oh, I screwed that up, didn't I? Well, I think this was our last choice. Wait for the father. Days and weeks go by, and Yves Malterres continues to shine by its absence. I try to concentrate on my classes at school, but after all these revelations, I have a hard time focusing. And then, Frank, who's still away, I must confess, I'm not looking forward to breaking him the news about Stan. No! That might explain why my job doesn't seem like a priority these days. And on top of it all, the director told me it would be inspected by the local education authority, which adds to the general climate of anxiety. I'm in a forest. It's the same dream again, the one I had last month. I have a feeling of deja vu, but something has changed. I run to escape this presence that follows me. And once again, I get to the pool in the clearing. I draw closer to catch my reflection. It's the same image as last time, but it's more precise. Almost more real. I'm wearing a black dress. My hair is very long, black and straight. Something dark and powerful seems to emanate from my reflection. I look determined, sure of myself. I like the way I look, somehow dangerous and provocative. I surprised myself thinking it wouldn't take much for me to become the Daphne from the mirror. I touch a reflection after a moment of darkness. I'm in the garden again. When I get to the statue, the Sphinx's gaze is different. She looks forward with a defiance and determination. That's when everything changes. I'm moved by the strength and stability that seems to emanate from the statue. This time, I won't let myself fall into the darkness. This time, I'll find the courage to turn around and confront the threat the Sphinx is staring at with her inflexible look. That's when I see the beast for the first time. We watch each other for a second that seems to last forever. Then, without notice, the beast throws itself at me. It is when its claws are about to lacerate my belly that I wake up screaming and sweating. Well, that was a trippy dream, I must say. Well, I think that's a good place as any to wrap that all up. Right? So let me know what you thought about the last chapter, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, Kaze out. Bye, guys.